Everyone wants breakthrough in their career. But where do you start? You've probably heard of the idea of a spec spot. This is where you go out and you shoot something, essentially when no one's asked you to do it, except you know that this is a spot that aligns with your passion, your vision, and the type of projects you want to make. Today, I'm going to be breaking down a whole spec spot with Sophia Pompey. She's an incredible cinematographer and director who recently made this Sony spot that has created the breakthrough and momentum in her career that has allowed her now to get signed by companies like Steam Films and shoot incredible commercials. So, Soph, you've created this beautiful Sony spot. What has happened since you made this?
When I first created and actually launched the project, I wasn't expecting such a great outcome, to be honest, because obviously there is a lot of passion that goes behind these projects. And yes, I wanted a portfolio piece. I wanted a portfolio piece for my team. It created a sort of momentum in terms of production companies, producers started noticing who's Sophia. It kind of skyrocketed my career in terms of getting noticed.
Yes.
And that was the biggest thing.
When you're working on a passion project, you're up against the iron triangle. Fast, cheap, and good. And usually you can't do this fast because if you were to do it fast, it means it's no longer cheap or it's no longer good. And the whole point of a passion project is to make it good because you're trying to show people the work you want to be hired for. In order to do this cheap, it means you're going to need a lot of time, which also likely means you're going to have to do a lot of the work yourself. And you're also going to need people to work at affordable rates or even in some cases free. You need good creative, a strong idea, and the ability to pitch that. If you can't pay people, they have to be excited about the project they're working on. I think that's one of the unique things about spec spots and I've experienced in my career. Mm-hmm. Some people call them passion projects, but it's when you create this, it gets you noticed. It gives you something to talk about. Yeah. And it's a proof of concept that you can work with a crew, sometimes with a limited amount of resources, but you can also create something beautiful. And as you've seen with this Sony spot, it's gorgeous. But let's talk about this first. I know a lot of people, they guess that the budget was maybe around $100,000 with talent and location and gear. Yeah. Can you tell us how much it cost?
It's funny you said that because when I showed this final product to a lot of my production companies, all of them thought it was $100,000 or even more, that I got an investment that kind of paid for the project to come to life. But the directors and I actually fully invested in the project and it was only $5,000.
5,000 Canadian?
5,000 Canadian.
Which is like 2,000 US right now. I would have never guessed that from the VFX to even just having the amazing talent.
Yeah.
Bravo on this. One thing I've learned from what you did on this, you aligned yourself with a lot of people who had a common goal. They wanted to add something to their reel, so you could suddenly add a bigger crew. How did you go about that?
A spec spot is obviously a non-paid project, but if you treat it almost like as a client project, you're training that muscle to be able to get those bigger projects. And that means I created a pitch deck. So the same way that you would be pitching to a client, I kind of pitched to my crew. I wanted them to be excited and put their 100% in it.
Absolutely.
And having all those people ready beforehand, even the editor, shout out to my friend Mallory Robbins that literally did a previs video even before we got in production. And also, I don't know if you saw, but we also had a Steadicam op. Talia, she was at the beginning of her career and she absolutely loved the project.
That is one of the assets you can use to people. If you don't have money to pay them, give them some creative freedom, some agency to help put their vision into the project and come alongside you. So people are probably looking at this going, oh, she has the Alexa. This is clearly not a spec spot.
So I was actually very fortunate to be able to have a little bit of budget, but I had one connection with a rental house, the Buki Rentals. Basically, I pitched it to them the same way that I pitched it to crew. And they were very, very nice to be able to give us the Alexa Mini with a set of lenses and a little bit of lighting.
Really important too, I think one tip that Soph said there is tell them your budget. Just be honest with people up front, and then they'll know what you're working with. Hi, if you liked this breakdown with Sophia, you're in for a treat because we actually recorded an over hour-long, in-depth breakdown of this commercial and how she goes about her lighting, how she approaches her cinematography. She's an incredible teacher, and we've added this all into our cinematic eye course. you're not familiar with that, that's part of the Art of Documentary. This is an over 80 plus video in-depth course about cinematography, and it's part of our entire Art of Documentary collection. And great news, for one day only, on Boxing Day, we're putting all of our courses on sale for 30% off. If you want to get that video from Sophia, as well as our whole other collection of courses, all 5 of them are on sale, 30% off right now. We're constantly getting emails every day of people literally saying, it's life-changing. Those are my words, those are yours. One of the best parts of AOD isn't just the course content, but it's the community. We've seen people talking about getting tens of thousands of dollars of new work through the connections and community in Art of Documentary. But if you do miss the sale, fear not. We have our dynamic pricing in our shopping cart. If you bundle them all together, that's our all access. It's like getting an entire course for free. We're always updating the content. Excited to have Sophia. Now, back to the tutorial. So if you did a lot of pre-production on that, can you talk about that? How much time went into this?
So I came up with the concept, actually, funny enough, watching a TV show called The Russian Doll. There's a very specific episode where she's in this beautiful library, and it was like a light bulb. I want to shoot a commercial inside a beautiful library, and I want it to be around overstimulation from sound. So I came up with the concept in June, and we actually ended up shooting it in November.
I think that's one tip to really take from this. Sophia is still getting hired from this a year later, and you will for many. It's on your reel. If you rush a passion project, you won't be able to use it for a very long time. I know my first passion project, Rescate, I spent half a year on that project, and it's still getting me work to this day. Again, fast, cheap, and good. It was like, I couldn't do it fast.
Yeah.
I had to do it cheap, so I had to edit it myself. And then I love that you did a previs. This is when you have a limited amount of time. A previs is a pre-visualization. This is where you kind of edit the piece ahead of time. When I did my Molson Canadian spot, we had 4 hours to shoot this commercial.
Wow.
So I went in there twice with just my FX3 and shot the whole commercial. And then that way, when we came in on the day and we had the whole crew, we knew what setups we needed.
Another thing that I should say about the previs, like, we didn't even have the chance to shoot it. She actually used stock footage to actually construct a very, like, it was really well done. That previs kind of like made us feel even more secure. We know that this is the next shot that we need to shoot.
You were saying if you went overtime on the set, it would have been $1,000 per hour.
Correct.
So how did you get this all done in one day?
Shot list and schedule need to kind of like work together, especially when it's a project of this scale. You want to try to keep it under 25 shots a day.
You're saying your limit is 25 shots per day, but what is your number limit of setups? And for people who don't know what the difference is, a shot can be, here's a tight shot, here's a medium, here's a wide.
Yeah.
But it's one setup because we've used the same lighting.
For this one specifically, we divided it on 2 big setups. One for the main room where you see the actor coming down the stairs. And then the second one was where we saw the chandelier.
I always say it's okay to be stressed on set, and I'm sure you were stressed with the time, and not, but it's not okay to be confused.
No.
Having the previs, having the location scout, and having a shot list, and I love that you put a limit to that. It's nice to have some kind of rules, and you knew then, based on that timing, that you would be able to achieve that. Let's talk about this location. How did you go about finding it, and why did you decide to use it?
What we were saying before, I can shoot it on a 35, I can shoot it on the Swim Venice, I can shoot it on whatever camera I wanted. But if the location does not look good, it's not gonna work out.
No.
I probably visited every single library in Toronto. It took us 6 months for pre-production, but it took 2 months to actually find the perfect location. And obviously, because budget restraint, we were very specific and be like, this is what we can afford. I was looking for wood. I was looking for tall ceilings. I wanted to find a library that was like very like Harry Potter-ish.
Yeah. I think one really important thing for spec spots is you probably can't afford all of the gear, but locations are one kind of hack around that, where if you can find a stunning location like you did, it can immediately elevate the budget and the look on the space.
The location was very protective of the space itself. So we weren't able to rig absolutely anything to the walls.
What's this?
We used...
Is that pushed up against the wall or no?
No, it's actually on... it's 2 heavy light stands that we put together with a pipe in between. Obviously, we wanted to be a safe setup, but we needed elevation. And again, if you can see here on the...
Oh, so you have another pool here. Yeah.
Exactly.
So if you're a DP, but now you moved into directing. But what would be a cinematography tip that you used in order to achieve this piece?
Shoot your wides first and then jump in your close-ups. That will be, first of all, less time consuming in general. And it will help you also when you're doing your tights to kind of just do your lighting adjustments here and there. But at least you have continuity in terms of like having already your biggest light setup done first.
Show off the space. That's your strongest shot. It's one of your biggest assets, this location, and then move into the tights.
Yeah. And another tip that I would give, think outside the box. Anytime that you're building your wides, kind of figure out where you can place the camera that's a bit more interesting. If you see my first wide specifically, I wanted to make sure that I saw the staircase. I wanted to make sure that we saw like a different type of angle. And even in the second setup, like I think that's actually one of my favorite shots is that I decided to put the camera on a Mamo combo, actually.
Yeah. Very sketchy setup.
Very sketchy setup, but it was placed on a Mamo combo, and obviously my key grip was on a ladder, making sure that the camera was safe.
In other commercials, you would have had someone go spend weeks choosing the chandelier and then hanging it and getting it. But
safety.
You chose an amazing spot that you didn't need to do any art direction. This place was amazing from the beginning. I really appreciate how you pooled the lighting in this. What are we seeing being used?
I only actually used 3 lights. It was a 3-point. Yes, it was a 3-point lighting setup. There's a little bit of a harsher light that this kind of like glowy effect that we have. I actually had a 60B with a spotlight mount.
Wow.
Just behind this. Just behind this glass case here. Over here, because obviously not being able to rig anything on the walls and stuff, we had to put it almost like on a 45-degree angle and like making sure that it wasn't too harsh also on his hair.
Yeah.
And then
this. What's this soft light on him here?
The soft light was only an F22C that kind of was placed almost in the front. So in front of the glass case, like hidden out of the frame over there.
These aren't very big lights, by the way.
No.
These are really affordable lights. When I saw this first spot, I was like, oh, they had huge HMIs being punched through the windows.
No buzz. No, absolutely not.
And this is all natural?
This was like a little bit natural, a little bit of like if you see the blue highlights over there, we had an Astera hidden with a honey crate on the, just to kind of have like dispersed. And I wanted these like beautiful highlights here and there, and I wanted to prioritize color contrast.
Yep.
So there's a lot of blues, there's a lot of yellows, there's a lot of greens.
Yeah, so rather than going big budget on the lighting where you're creating a ton of contrast, you were going for the color. So that was just F22C, 60B, and a couple Asteras.
And like our little MCs that are placed inside these beautiful practicals on the bottom.
So you don't need a ton of lighting to make something look beautiful.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for this. If you guys like this, we're going to go even more in depth into this commercial, going shot by shot, breaking that down inside the cinematic eye. This is the most effort I've seen put into a passion project, and it absolutely is deserving of all the work and all the opportunities you're getting so far. Go check her out. She just launched a YouTube channel as well. I'll put that in the link below, and check her out on Instagram. Go collab with some people you love. It's why we're now awarding the best collaboration in Art of Documentary on our One Day Docs. Thank you, Soph.
Thank you, Mark.
Get out there, go shoot a passion project.